Sales Babble is sponsored by Vidyard, a video solution for sales professionals.
We live in a tremendously competitive world, and there's a lot of companies doing what we do. So we have to know why me, why us. And so salespeople need to remember, other people buy the person, then the product, then the company.
Last week, guest Diane Helbig visited and talked about the ABCs of selling. Did you get a chance to listen to that? Well, today we're going to go to the next step and walk through the free worksheets that she offered. Worksheets that can organize your day for selling success. With no further ado, let's get to it.
Welcome to Sales Babble, the podcast that shares selling secrets for non-sellers. And now your host, Pat Helmers.
Welcome back, Diane. Are you ready to babble?
I am totally ready to babble. Let's do this.
Diane, you're the author of a new book called Succeed Without Selling, and we chatted about this in the last time you were here on the podcast. And what I really loved about this book was it really comes from a point of view that we shouldn't be selling, we should be discovering, and we should be listening. And I thought everything you said had provide a lot of value. What intrigued me about this book was you have a lot of very practical worksheets in the back. Why did you add those? What was that about?
Because I have noticed that sometimes when I do presentations or I'm doing a training, people hear it, but then it's hard for them to absorb and actually, take action right afterward. And I thought in this book, I want to make sure I am providing as much as I possibly can to people. So if I show you the document, if I talk about what you need to do, and then I give you the document and you can use it for yourself, then you can take that action in real time and see it working for yourself. I just think there's it's easier to connect to the message that way.
That makes just a ton of sense because I looked at these and I've made a number of these things myself over time and pass them out to people and whatnot. Yeah. And I think it'd be fun for us to walk through them. So one thing before I get to that, because I think these could help a lot, is in the last episode we talked about, you gave some advice on how to do a cold call, how to do cold prospecting on LinkedIn. Things are very different these days given the pandemic. We don't exactly know where people are. Mm-hmm. Are they in the office? Or are they working from home? Yeah. Maybe they're doing both. So on any one day, we don't know exactly where they're at. Right. How can we navigate this, Diane?
Well, I definitely think it's trickier. Having said that, I think it adds value. It adds importance to picking up a phone and calling somebody. Oh. We have this weird tendency to want to write everything, right? I'm going to send it in an email. I'm going to send it in a text. I'm going to put it in a message on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever. And it loses its, the actual, I don't want to say authenticity because I don't think that's really true, but it opens up the opportunity for misunderstanding or losing the thread or not ever even getting the message. But everyone's got their phone somewhere. And even with working from home, their phone calls are being forwarded, or now they're giving, it's their cell phone all the time. So people can be more available. Having said that, we also need to be highly conscious that we do not know what they are experiencing with kids, illness, work, you name it. We are in a very weird place. And so if we can say to ourselves, the truth is, I have no idea what they're going through, then we offer grace. And so when we ask, we're really asking first, how are you?
this has always been true to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
When you call somebody at work, they weren't sitting there waiting for you to call them.
What? Wait a minute. They weren't?
I'm certain a stranger is going to be calling me about something I'm really interested in the next hour. So I'm going to work on some stuff here, be able to set it right aside, so that I can give them 100% my focus. That's never the case.
No.
These strange times make that even more so.
Yes, they do. They do. And we need to be aware of that. They don't know what's going on with us, but that's not their responsibility. We just have to remember that we don't know. And I'll tell you, one of the best ways to connect with someone is to genuinely care, to genuinely just want to know. If that's all the conversation is about, hey, listen, I'm just reaching out. I'm just saying, how are you? That's all I want to know.
I always like to ask people like, so how is business? And sometimes I'll say things like this week. What's business like this week? Yeah. They make it very focused, because that opens up to lots of things.
Yes.
And people will open up about like their personal lives almost immediately.
Yeah.
They're like,
exactly.
The kids are going back to school or something like this, so it's hard to juggle this, I had to let this person go. I'm trying to hire somebody. People are trying to make payroll.
Right. And so you could, but now you have to really listen to what they're telling you and then respond to it. Ask them more about that. Or maybe you start thinking that you have a resource that could potentially help them with that. You can tell them that. You can say, I know someone who, would you like me to introduce you? Or would you like me to give you their information so you can, wow, really? You're not trying to sell me something? What? It's so much better.
I love it. So the whole point of this episode is really, I want to talk about some of these worksheets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we have time to go through them all, but let's do a few of them here.
Okay.
Like you have, here's a great worksheet that you have. The first one's called Resource A. It's called Why People Buy Worksheet. And it says, the first question you have on there, what is your differentiator? Why your company?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we live in a tremendously competitive world, and there's a lot of companies doing what we do. So we have to know why me, why us. And so salespeople need to remember, other people buy the person, then the product, then the company, right?
Yeah. Yes.
The company's third on the product or service isn't even right. They're buying you.
Yes.
Okay. So what is it about you? What do you bring to the table? And I'm just going to say, it's not that you give great customer service, because that's what everybody says. Well, you know what? No, it isn't that. There's something that you do. There's something that connects to the people you should be connecting to. So this is your differentiator, but you got to remember, it's not going to be a differentiator for everybody. It doesn't mean that one thing is going to send everyone running to your door or everyone saying yes. We need to know who we are, right? So that we know who we're talking to.
Yeah. That's what makes this worksheet so important. That if you write it down, then you can remember it.
Yeah.
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 There's something unique about your company.
Yes.
Figure that out.
Ask your customers.
Yeah. Don't think that everybody in your business is a commodity and that it's all about price.
Right.
There's something special about you.
That's exactly right.
The next worksheet is called Top Client Characteristics Worksheet. You have a bunch of columns on here. Maybe you could walk through them.
Sure. I can absolutely do that.
If I can see them. This print's so little.
I know. That's why you can download them from the website, because there's no way people like me can.
Girl, I got such bad eyesight too.
Oh,
I can't see squat.
Just telling you.
Like I'm looking around this.
Okay, so obviously, so this is for you to get a good handle on who you are already selling to, because we want to duplicate what works. Okay?
Oh.
Right. So first we need to know, it's like building the persona of an ideal client. So these are your top clients. These are the ones you love, the ones who you just think are fabulous. You love talking to them. You'll answer their call. You'll answer their email. There are reasons why. All right. So the first is just, really dry stuff like how much revenue are you actually getting from them? And honestly, it might not be the most, but we still need to know how much, what is the realized revenue? Then what are you selling to them? What is the product or service or multiple that you are actually providing to them, right?
Yep.
The next column is the number of contacts you deal with. So how many people in that organization are you dealing with at any given time? Or overall. So, because that could be multiple departments, or it could just be one department with 5 people, whatever it is. Also, number of locations. So, is it one location? Do they have a headquarters and then other locations? You're just trying to paint a picture of what these top clients look like, because they're going to have similarities. And that's pretty much what we're trying to get to. And the last column is contact personality characteristics. And what I mean by that is, what is of the contacts you have there, what are they like? What is it about them? Like, good sense of humor, value what we do, communicate effectively, love horses. I don't know, just describe that person or those people. Because I submit that part of the reason why they're in your top is because you really like those people. That, you engage with them. I mean, I used to have a great client who I used to go to his office. He would always see me every single time I went to his office, and we would just talk politics. And we were not on the same side of things, but we could sit there and talk politics and have the best conversations, because we had figured out that was something we just enjoyed talking to each other about, right? So it was safe. We could do it. So, and he was one of my best clients, called me every time he needed something. But because, we had this, okay, so that was one thing about him, not about his company. It was about how I engage with him as a human, because people buy people.
Sales Babble is sponsored by Vidyard. Vidyard is an easy-to-use yet powerful video solution that makes it simple to create videos, host them ad-free, share them with others, and track their performance. Whether you're recording a video for one person or sharing it with the world on your website, it's easy to manage your video content. Vidyard's solution is built for business with robust analytics, integrations with top enterprise tools, and customization options that answer businesses' unique needs. But you may be asking yourself, what's this got to do with sales? Well, with Vidyard, you can differentiate your emails by putting a face to a name when prospecting, following up, and demos. You can use the same CRM and outreach tools that you use every day to build content the entire sales team can leverage, and track analytics to know which videos convert best. Sign up for a free Vidyard account today by going to vidyard.com/babble, and as a bonus, get their high conversion virtual sales playbook. Again, go to vidyard.com/babble. That's BABBLE. What's the value of putting these things into a worksheet?
So you can see them,
versus like just sticking it in the CRM.
Yeah, because in the CRM, then they're pretty much separate, right? I mean, you're looking at that particular client at that time, and you can run a report from there. And then that would be, if you can pick these fields, that would be that list actually. But I find when we do our own research, when we do our own, okay, this is what this is, I'm not sure all this information is going to be in your CRM as far as really thinking about the personality of the contact. But then as you go through the exercise, you see you're saying the same thing repeatedly. Maybe not with all of them, but what you're going to develop is a persona of, this is who I like to work with and who likes to work with me. Because it's two ways.
Like the next resource was just where you found those people. It's called the Top Client Origins Worksheet. And it says, did I find him in networking? Was it a cold call? Was it direct mail? Was it a trade show? Was I given a talk? And stuff like that.
Right. Which is because we want to repeat what works. But a lot of times we forget where they came from. Now that should be in your CRM.
Oh, so this is like an analysis of.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah,
Pat, I'll give you an example. I had a client say to me once, I think I'm going to stop networking. I mean, it's just really not working for me and I'm sort of sick of it and, blah, blah. And I said, okay, well, let's talk about that. Tell me about your top 3 clients. And she did. And I said, okay, how'd you get them? And she started going backward to how she got them. And you know what the root was? She'd been networking. And she met someone who then told her about and introduced her. And so you gotta, it's how you know what you should be spending time on and what you shouldn't be.
Yeah, this is about awareness.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes you get so stuck in the weeds. And that's what's great about this worksheet. It forces you to step back and look at everything from a higher point of view.
Yes.
And then you can kind of factor out the commonalities.
And get rid of things that aren't working. Like I had another client who said, well, I'm part of this group but I think I need to stay. It's not really, but I think I need to stay because there's this guy in the group who sends me a lot of referrals. And I said, okay, great. How many of them turn into business? None. Okay. Excuse me. Wait. Either he doesn't really understand what you do or, it's a feel good for him, but it's not really turning anything. So do you really need to be spending your time there? Is that really valuable? It can feel like it's a good referral partner, but you got to ask yourself the question, is it turning into business?
Yeah, you see that in B&I all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Because people are kind of forced to cough up leads.
Right.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the best.
No, I totally agree with you because it takes all of the real, valid, genuine out of the equation. Yeah. And people's motives end up being wrong, I think, for giving referrals.
A couple others that are in here, which are interesting and are hard to actually kind of explain, is the 30-second introduction options. You're laughing.
Because this is like one of my favorite things. So we have been raised to pitch, 30-second pitch, 30-second commercial. And what I would love people to embrace is, it is not a pitch. It is not a commercial. You are not going to sell somebody in 30 seconds. So stop. It's the start of a conversation. It's an introduction to what, motivates you or who buys from you or, the value that you bring that turns into a certain result. We need to stop saying how long we've worked for the company, what all of our certifications are, using jargon, using acronyms, because once again, no one cares. Sad truth, no one cares. I know your mom cares, and that's great, and you should be really proud of all of that. But the person you're talking to just doesn't care yet. What they want to know is, how are you helping solve a problem? How is your client better off after doing business with you than they were before they did business with you? So I try and give, little fill in the blanks with, try this. And everyone has to do it in their own way. But I think if you can do it in a way that isn't so polished and uptight, it'll be more natural.
Yeah. And just to read these, there's two things I want to say. Like, It says, the top one says, I'm passionate about something in my target market, and they do something so that they can then have some kind of result. Right. It's all kind of based on a section that you have in the front of your book. And I didn't bring this up earlier, but it says something along the lines, you said this, what I call your value proposition. Providing X value to Y target with Z result. So X, Y, Z. I provide X amount of value to this kind of target client so that they experience this result.
That's right.
And if you always had that clearly in your mind, when people say, what do? It's just so easy to say. It's like, oh, we help those kinds of people who are in this kind of situation. And we do it by providing this product so that they experience this set of benefits.
Yes. And that's all anybody cares. Right.
Bam, 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 bam.
Right. And the other person can go, oh. Or they'll say, wow, really? Tell me more about that, which is what you want. Like, why else are you doing it? You want to engage in a conversation with them.
Bingo. Here's another one here. Prospecting script worksheet.
Yeah.
These are like, what are these? Yes. What are these? This is for cold calling, right?
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is what you said. This is what you would put in a LinkedIn Connect request.
Yes.
Yes. This is what you do on a cold call. This is what you would do when you get to a meeting. Because there's another thing you said in there, right? Prospecting isn't about sales. I think you said that prospecting is about setting a meeting.
Getting the meeting. Yep. In my belief, we're in the selling phase when we are actually in the meeting with the prospect. But that is also another opportunity to do discovery, not to be talking a lot.
You got a few more in here. I highly recommend that the listeners take a moment and hop on Amazon to buy the book.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're on Amazon.
Yes.
If people want to connect with you, Diane, how would they do that?
They can go to my website. It's the easiest way, helbigenterprises.com, and they can find those documents that are in the back of the book that they can download. They can read a free chapter. They can reach out to me from there. I know, right? Yeah. Get a little taste, Then buy the book.
Who's your ideal client?
A small business owner who is struggling with some aspect of their business, and they would really like help figuring that out and coming up with their own solutions, their own strategy that they will implement.
And what would be the results of that?
That they would have greater outcomes, better results than they had before, and they would be happier humans.
I love it. Diane, thank you again.
Thank you.
For babbling here on Sales Babble. This has been great. This is good stuff. This is really great stuff.
Thank you. And thank you for babbling with me about sales. I love talking about this subject. So.
I can tell. To connect with my good friend Diane Helbig, you can find at the show notes at www.salesbabble.com, as well as our sponsor, Vidyard, video solutions for sales professionals. Did you find value in this podcast? If so, could you do me a favor and share this with one person, one friend, one colleague who's excited to grow their sales? On whatever app you're using to listen to this podcast right now, there's a share button that will send a text or a message or an email or a social media post. It'd mean all the world to me if you could forward this podcast to just one person who has the same curiosity that you do. Do it right now. Okay, thanks. So until next week, take care and have a highly successful and a profitable selling day.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Babble podcast. Find us at www.salesbabble.com.
This is a production of Habanero Media.